Welcome to the Vetiver Vibes podcast. We're your hosts, Nikki Fraser and Rachael Dean, certified clinical aromatherapists. We are excited to have you here on today's episode where you know that you'll get the best essential oil scoop.
This episode is brought to you by Essentria, a leading online school for aromatherapy. If you want to learn more about organic perfumery, check out the courses at www.schoolofessentria.com. Welcome to this week's episode of Vetiver Vibes. Nikki Fraser here with Rachael Dean.
Hi.
And this week we are going into part 2 of our moon phases. So in last week's episode, we went over the first half of the moon phase, which is the new moon all the way to waxing gibbous moon. And in this episode, we're going to go from the full moon all the way to the end of waning crescent moon, which is the second half of the moon cycle. And the waning moon is when the moon is actually becoming smaller. So it's on the way back to the new moon because it is a cycle. It keeps going round and round. And it's when we can see the right side of the moon. So this means it's the waxing, and the left side is the waning. And this is also the releasing phase. So the first half, we were if you haven't listened to it yet, please go back and listen to it. But this is when we are kind of building up, and we're, putting all of our intentions and our creativity and all of that. And now we are in the releasing phase of the moon cycle.
Time to let go?
Yes, letting go.
So we are at the full moon at this point, right?
Yes.
So celebrate. Woo!
And it's that time to celebrate. We're 15 to 18 and a half days after the new moon. So just like with new moon and all the other moon cycles, right? The energy is typically around the 3 days, the day before, the day of, the day after, is always when the energy is at its highest. It doesn't mean you can't do things other times. It's just that is when the energy is at its highest. And I mean,
So
this
the
is
full moon, so it's the fullest.
Yeah, exactly, right? The man in the moon, this is when we see him.
Let me see the man. I thought he sits on the little, what is it? The waning.
Oh, yeah, the crescent. Yeah, no, that's just in TV land. What is it? There's a few of those TV or the movie productions. That's what their image is. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't, I can always actually see a face in the moon when it is a full moon. I don't know if you can.
I don't know about a face. I've never thought of it that specific. I love like looking at it, and we have a telescope that we've gotten out many times and we've watched like the red moons, and it was really cool. Actually, I'll tell this story quick. When we were watching the red moon, and the moment that the moon turned red, the coyotes in the whole neighborhood all started howling at the like top of their lungs. And then for like a whole solid like minute as it was like red, and then it like swapped again and it was like kind of normal again, and they just all were quiet. It was so cool to like, it was cool to be outside experiencing this like eclipse. And then it was really cool just to see how like nature had felt about it.
That's fascinating though, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
It didn't feel like it was a negative thing too. I feel like they were just aware and, you know, acknowledging that something had happened, and it was really neat. I loved it.
Well, and it's pulling us, like the energy actually pulls us in both directions. So I'm sure the animals feel it also. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, for sure.
Because like the sun and the moon are on complete opposite sides of the earth at this point. And so it's pulling in both directions where we just kind of want to go in both. So the energy's high, it's uplifting, bringing light and clarity into the darkness of it all. And I mean, as people, we feel it. So I can absolutely see that we are animals also, but all animals would feel it too.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is too, like, goes with the water, right? We're made up of so much water, and it's pulling water, which, this is why people always say, all the crazies are coming out at the full moon and different things like that. But there's an energy. It just like, it stirs the energy within us in lots of different ways. But this is also when our intentions are materializing. So all the intentions that we were setting in that first half, this is when we want to start seeing them materialize. It's time, and also time to be thankful for what we do have. and what we've achieved, right? We always have to be thankful for what we have, what we achieved, to be able to bring more into our life as well.
We can do that
And
throughout the whole cycle, though, ideally.
yes,
But it's good to have extra times where we can focus on
yes,
that.
yes. And it is like I'm find little parts of every day to be thankful. Doesn't matter where we are in the moon, doesn't matter where we are for anything.
Exactly.
That's always important, absolutely. And then the important thing too is, because the first half, if you're actively trying to manifest things and you're doing rituals the first half of the moon cycle, things like that, you're what you've been setting your intentions for may not have manifested, and that's okay. There are many different reasons why it may not have happened. It might just not be the time for it. It might be that you are just one step closer, right? Sometimes I like to look at us as a ladder, and we're at, if you're only on the bottom ring, you can't shoot to just jump to the top ring. You have to take those tiny
Definitely.
steps to get to the top. So maybe you took 1 or 2 steps, and you're that much closer to the top of your ladder, where your ultimate goal is. So it's
Right.
remembering all of that too. And just really, this is the time to be grateful. Look around, take it all in, celebrate your achievements, write out your gratitude. And what I like to do a lot of times is fear releases. So this is a big time where
What's
I
a fear
do.
release? Talk about that a bit.
So in the last one I talked about like salt bowls and that type of stuff. So again, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. But fear releases, so that's the salt bowl, we're putting our intentions. The fear release, we're literally releasing our fears. So a bunch of different ways that I have done them. I have written, especially in warmer months, bonfires, things like that. I've just written them on paper and burned them.
I love that.
You can get erase not erasable paper, but
Pens?
disintegrating
Oh,
paper.
okay.
And it's just like little, very thin, it almost feels like tissue paper, but a little bit thicker. But you just like put it, so you would write down anything that is just there that you just need to get rid of, what's not serving you anymore. And it can be about absolutely anything and everything. And you just write it out, like write it out until you feel empty. And you can just literally put that in a bowl of water and it disintegrates literally right in front of you.
Oh, that's cool.
I do that a lot. I've done it before at a beach where you just find driftwood and you have a marker and you just write and write and write again on your driftwood, and you chuck that piece of wood back into the water and you just let the waves take it away. So I did that. There's actually one where I did where it didn't quite turn out. And even looking back at it now, you'll understand why I'm not a big fan of it, because I feel like it's really a lot of littering. But it was those light, was it you light a candle in the inside and
Oh,
it
the
gulfs
lanterns?
the lanterns, yes. So on it, you're supposed to write down all kinds of stuff, and then you light it, and the lantern just kind of drifts away, and it takes, everything that
Those
isn't
lanterns
serving
are
you away.
so beautiful, but I think that they're banned now in a lot of places around here.
And I could
Um,
honestly see that for
yeah,
safety reasons. You're
yeah,
lighting something on fire and letting it go into the air. Littering reasons, then that's got to come down somewhere.
yeah.
Um, so
Well,
there's
and
this, and
sometimes they
this
come down and
was,
they're still on fire.
well,
So,
exactly.
so
Ab
that's not so good.
Absolutely. And I did that one specifically, I did years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
But
I think
mine
they
actually
became
never went up.
really, yeah, they got really popular after Rapunzel Tangled came out because
Okay.
there was like this big, huge lanterns. There's lots of lanterns in Rapunzel. So I think they became very popular and kind of became mainstream after that. And then hopefully we're kind of phasing them out again because they're
Yes. Yes.
gorgeous,
Because
but
I wasn't a big fan of it. And looking back, I'm even less of a fan of it now. And actually, I couldn't even get mine to go up. It never did. So I ended up folding it, and because I think it was a very large women's retreat that I was at. And I think there was maybe only 2 or 3 that actually ended up going out of maybe 10. So
oh
all the
wow.
rest of us kind of folded them up, and we just kind of burnt them on the side. But yeah, so there's absolutely 1,001 ways that you can release it. The biggest thing is just, honestly, put your heart, soul, and fears, whatever you need to let go. Again,
Yeah.
it's all about the feeling that you are releasing that matters, not the words that you're putting down, but what you actually feel as you release it. And, you might need to do this multiple times. Just because you release something once doesn't mean it's gone. You
Unfortunately, that's very true.
yeah. So that's one of the big rituals that I do like to do at this point. The other one is also a forgiveness ceremony or cord cutting ceremony. So this one I came upon it a few years ago, and I'm going to massacre the name, and I apologize in advance. And it's a Hawaiian traditional ceremony as well, and it's called Ho'oponopono. No, I have to read it to say it properly. Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. But what it means is, I love you, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you. And so that's what you say over and
Nice.
over and over. There are a few other things to it also.
Yeah.
I strongly suggest people looking it up. But there's a cord cutting ceremony. So there's actually two different. There's a cord cutting ceremony where you can like visualize people up on a stage and you're actually tethered to someone and you literally cut that cord and you release them. So that's one that I do often, actually just in my mind, just forgiving people. And then at the end, you can say I love you, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you. And it's interesting
Cord
because a lot of,
cutting. Yeah, go ahead.
well, I was just to say, a lot of people, they say like, forgive me. Why am I asking them but it's just, remember, forgiveness is something that's just for you. It's so that
Yeah.
you can move on. You can kind of maybe
Yeah.
close or take a step forward. It doesn't matter about the other person. It's your intentions for yourself. Forgiveness is always for you, not the other person.
Right. I was gonna say for cord cutting, when I'm doing aromatherapy on somebody, like a physical practice of either their hands or even when it was reflexology or aroma massage, that kind of thing. When I'm done, I always cut the cord because I feel like it's a very connected
Yeah.
piece. And um, I love all my clients, but I don't need to take them with me everywhere I go for the rest of the day or the week
Yes.
or the month until I see them again. So trying to just like cut that cord like visually in my head when
Yeah.
I'm done and be like this or like, we're done, cut the
Yeah.
cord, and then they're
I
done
love
and then they're
that.
also by themselves. You can enjoy that. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I've often done like aura protection things around me, but
Yeah.
I've never thought of doing like just the simple cord cutting at the end of any of my sessions. And I think I might start doing that because I really think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, it was one of my Reiki sessions and she was talking to me about it and stuff and explaining it. And she also was telling me at the time that I had cords going
Everywhere.
everywhere. So I
Yep.
was like, she's like, we're gonna spend some time cutting all those cords. So,
Yep.
I definitely go through times where I'm sure I've forgotten about the fact that I've left cords everywhere and that I try to be everything for everybody. But um, yeah, it's good to kind of remember that at times and
Absolutely.
just cut the cords. You can keep your connections to your husband and kids and stuff like that if you need to, but sometimes they're taking a little bit too much as well, so chop them. They'll be back, don't worry.
Yep.
They'll be back.
It is, and everybody that you meet. So the purpose or the theory behind it is everybody that you meet, have a cord, right?
Yeah,
So it could be, the barista at your coffee shop, right? You
yeah,
have a cord with them.
yeah.
So I mean,
And I don't need
realistically,
that.
you have no, absolutely
Don't
not.
need that connection.
And some have zero meaning, but some are toxic, some are loving,
Definitely.
some maybe balance back and forth between the two. And it's you don't, like you said, just releasing that is something that's really great.
Yeah,
So, and just kind of letting go. And that's really what, the full moon is all about, is being grateful for what you have and letting go. And that
because now
allows
we're gonna
us,
go into the next session, the next
yeah,
phase,
yeah,
which
which
is
is the waning gibbous. So this is where we start to reflect and just breathe, right? Yes. And I've actually been, and little fun fact, I've been doing more breath work sessions, breathing, and I read a book a while ago too about breath and all different things. And so I've been really trying to take breath more into my conscious awareness and different things like that. And we have a little breathwork podcast coming up in the future, which is going to be
I'm
very
so
interesting.
excited to hear about it.
And I think would actually be really awesome to do in this moon phase right here.
There you go.
But it's really just breathe. You've earned the small break. You've done all the hard work. And the light's starting to diminish, right? So we're the full moon is kind of we're coming back down, and your confidence in yourself,
Might start to diminish.
yeah, and we
Yeah.
want to keep it strong. We want to keep it up. And so because we are coming down, like it's that high, right? You're coming down from the high. That's the word I was looking for that I couldn't find. And we want to keep up our energy. We don't want to start doubting ourselves. We don't want to, have any of those things creep in. We want to stay confident. We want to stay strong. We want to continue to focus on what we want to focus on.
Yeah.
And experience everything we want to experience. Learn from what we have just been doing is really important. So
Reflect on it.
yeah, yes, journal. Really take the time to think about it, reflect on it, journal about it, and regroup yourself to start thinking again of what those intentions are you want to be doing and the actions that you want to be doing. So that's really
So is
important
this
to
kind of
do.
like you're reflecting because then you're going to start the cycle again?
Yeah, so we're kind of coming back,
Yeah.
right? Like we're coming to the
Yeah.
end of the cycle. So we're still at the first half of the second half of the cycle. So I guess
Okay.
that would be the
Yeah.
third quarter of the cycle. So, um, and but we're coming down and we're going to start the cycle again. So we need to continue to look at
Yeah.
that also. We need to look at right now, but we also need to look at the future and the past to always be learning and knowing where our destination is too. So really what can change for next time, right? That's what we are starting
Yeah.
to think about. How can we pivot? What can be done? What can we do different? So those are all the different things that we can do. And be kind to yourself. It's things
Always.
might not have come the way that you were hoping, or maybe a lot of changes have happened and you're now adjusting to those changes. So be kind, show some love to yourself, however that love you want to show to yourself, but give yourself some love. And
Sure.
so those are always the big things. And then we come into the third quarter. So this is actually now the real third quarter.
Yeah.
So this is when we see the half moon again in the sky. And now we see the left side of the moon as it gets closer to the new moon. So we're about 7 to 10 and a half-ish days after the full moon. So I mean, I think everyone knows what a half moon looks like up in the sky. And just start
Yep.
to look internally as to what needs to change, right? So again, just clearing out the old, what's not serving you. That's what this whole half is about, is just clearing it out. And
So kind of what blocks you have so that you can clear those out
yeah,
for next time.
yes, exactly. You know, and what you can do internally to let it go. Again, letting that stuff go is always going to be something important. So, and that's where I think, we did that one podcast quite a while ago. Do you remember what number that was?
Um, Maybe 25.
That's what I'm thinking. I know it was
We'll make
around,
sure it's linked properly.
yeah, but I'm pretty sure it was around podcast 25-ish. And it was all about breaking through your limiting beliefs. And it was actually it was a podcast that we did as a practice more so. Pause it and do it and that type of thing. But actual questions that you can ask yourself to break through those limiting beliefs that you might be having. And that's going to be something that you might want to do in this section also, because it is, going to allow you to maybe reflect in, see what you can do, how you can
Oh,
pivot, how you can
it's not
change.
25. It is bonus episode 24.5,
Okay, that's
which
what
I
it is.
also posted at the end of 2023. So it's also episode 64.5. So I posted it again
All
there.
right,
So
perfect.
24.5 or 64.5. You can find that
Perfect.
limiting belief podcast and listen to that and work through some how to let go and make new goals and move forward with things. It's a great
Awesome.
episode.
Yeah,
You did.
yeah. And again, if you haven't done, a cord cutting ceremony, maybe this is another time to do one, or fear release, because again, you're just letting go. So really, like, those ceremonies can be done kind of at any point in this second half of the moon phase.
Great. And then we have our final phase.
Yeah, we're getting there. That's where we're at, which is the
Yeah.
waning crescent, also known as the balsamic moon phase. So again, the moon's coming to that last sliver, coming close to new moon again, and it's becoming smaller and smaller in the sky, where we're just cleaning up anything else that is kind of just still there. So again, sometimes it's easier to look at nature. So we're deadheading the flowers, we're raking up the leaves, we're clearing off everything to allow new growth to come back
Weeding.
in. Yes, yeah, we're weeding it all out. We
Nice.
are just picking up all the debris and all the junk that we don't need to allow new growth to come back up. So, clearing out that old is important. Because if we don't clear it,
Definitely.
then there's no room for new.
Yeah. And you just hold on to it forever until it goes stagnant. So
Exactly. Yeah. And we don't want things festering and like just eating away at us. Um, so just,
yeah,
clear it out, let it go. Again, letting go. That's what this entire stage is about, is letting go and eliminating what's not serving you
probably a
to
good time to
allow.
do some spring cleaning and stuff too, to
Yes, absolutely.
feel fresh, you know, let go of all those things and that are not serving you around your houses.
Yes. And even
So,
work, right? Like, think
yes.
of all the different areas of your life: home, work,
Yeah. Clean out your
wherever.
inbox,
Yes.
clean off your desk, all that stuff too. I find, I know I said spring cleaning, but I find I definitely go through waves, and it'd be interesting to actually see if it connects to the moon cycles, because I definitely go through like every couple of weeks. I'm just like, all the stuff has to like go and like back
Right?
in its spot and be fresh. And I'm always like decluttering and trying to minimize things, especially over the last year where I've noticed that we don't really need things as much as we need, um, people and all that stuff around us.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so definitely letting go of all that. And but it definitely goes in cycles. So I really should take a look at the calendar next time I realize that I have like 3 bags going to the thrift store.
Right? That's a good point though. And because yeah, I find I'll also go through phases.
Yeah.
But what you said there, even people, check your relationships.
Yeah.
Like, I've had over the years a lot of relationships where I'm okay letting them go. People come in for a season, and I use the word season not as like true season of winter,
Yeah.
summer,
Just a
all
part of
that,
your
but like
life.
a
Yeah.
part of, yeah, part of your journey through life. And you needed them in that season, and that season might be done, and it's okay to just kind of let them drift away.
Mhm.
You don't necessarily need friendships from day one to the very end of your life, for every friendship. And so sometimes we
For
absolutely
sure.
need to cut some of those things go too. And then yeah, that's the end of the moon cycle. We come back to the new moon. So again, if you haven't listened to the last podcast, go back and listen to it so then you can restart the moon cycle.
So what is some aromatherapy that's great for this half of the moon cycle?
Yeah, so here you really want to look at oils that are going to help you letting go. If you haven't realized the theme of this half of the moon, it is letting go. So, things that release that stagnant energy and help ground you, help clear. So, frankincense, cedarwood, very, very grounding. Peppermint, juniper berry, lavender. I always remember, it was Jennifer Jeffries when we did that conference, and she was like, lavender, just she mentioned that she sprays it in every hotel room she goes to because it releases the stagnant energy from the people before and things like that.
Nice.
So lavender is a big one to just, release
Yeah.
that stagnant energy of anywhere that you don't want. Any of the firs, so your trees, right?
Yeah, as
Any of
any
those.
tree. Yeah. Any tree is great.
It is like absolutely any tree because they are grounding, they're strong, they're rooted, right? So you want that aspect.
Don't
And
forget vetiver. That would be a great
Yes,
grounding oil.
absolutely.
Maybe not
Absolutely.
for me, but for most people.
But yeah, and so I mean, we give a few, but what to you speaks to you about grounding is what you are going to want to go for, or clearing out. We always give suggestions, but as a listener, if you have an oil that you find that is your go-to to just kind of help bring you back down into the moment, that's what you're going to want to reach for, is that oil itself. So it might not be one that we mentioned, and that's perfectly okay, because there are hundreds and hundreds of oils out there.
Yeah, we tend to try to stick to the most popular, most easily accessible oils 99% of the time. Just because, but yeah, there could be this great oil that you got somewhere fancy that you love and does the same thing. So feel free to
Absolutely.
use that.
Absolutely. Yes, so that is our moon cycle at an end.
I love the
I
moon.
I
It's
know.
so beautiful.
But I think that's a great spot to kind of wrap up this episode. And hopefully you can go out, practice some of those, rituals that we've talked about, some of the practices, journaling some of the stuff, the creativity, the releasing, all that stuff. And if you do any of them and want to share with us, feel free to email into us. We always love hearing from our listeners, especially if you've tried something that we've talked about. Always fantastic.
Well, thank you, Nikki, for teaching me and our listeners about the moon cycles for this
Oh,
episode and our last one, because,
absolutely.
I've known little bits and pieces here and there, but I definitely learned a lot more with you today and before. So
Awesome.
thank
Yeah.
you.
And again, I'm no expert. Many, many, many people know way more about it. It's just a tiny interest of mine that I like to dive into.
No,
So
but it can open up, the interest for others to go and
yeah,
explore more. So, that's
absolutely.
ultimately what we're trying to do here too. So, is
Yes,
just make sure people know about things that are out there, that if they want to learn more, they can, do their own research, they can dive deeper, they can reach out to some of our guests if they want to learn more, that kind of stuff. So,
yeah,
that's what we do here at Vetiver Vibes. And, thank you for, bringing that to us all the time.
absolutely. All right. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Vetiver Vibes. Nikki Fraser here with Rachel Dean,
Rachel
and we'll
Dean.
see you next time.
Bye. Thank you for spending your time with us here at Vetiver Vibes. This episode was brought to you by Essentria, a leading online aromatherapy school. Don't forget to check out some of our free resources at www.schoolofessentria.com.
If you love this episode or you got a lot of value out of it, please make sure you share it with someone in your community who you think would enjoy it too. If you haven't already subscribed or reviewed the show yet, you can go on over to your preferred streaming platform and hit subscribe, then leave a review. This is the best way to help support us, and we appreciate it. Email us with a screenshot of your review, and we will send you a free guided meditation as our way to say thank you.
This podcast is for information purposes only. We are certified clinical aromatherapists and holistic health professionals. If you have a medication concern, please refer to your health team. Everyone's health is unique to themselves, so the topics and suggestions stated may or may not apply directly to you.